everybody. It's Daniela Urbani from the Mom Curious podcast. If you hear a third voice today, you are listening to, you got it. It's Laura Lucetti, our executive producer. She's back.
I am. I'm excited to be here.
She's back in the flesh. We are joined here by my friend Brianne from Stroller in the City.
Yes.
She's a content creator. She's actually, you probably follow her already. And I just want you guys to know that every time I see you at an event, you are so kind. You're so well known. Like, you're so successful in this field and you have no pretension. And I really appreciate it so much.
You're so sweet. Thank you.
Because like I dabbled in the sort of blogging and content creation world. I don't know that that's like something that I consider myself. I guess I'm in the world, but you're like firmly established. And whenever I'm at an event and you're there, you're always like arms open wide. Hi, how are you? Can I get to know you? And I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Yeah. I remember meeting you actually right after COVID. I feel like it was a group event for moms. It was in the fall, right after summer. And I was just so excited to be back in the city. And that's when we met. I think you were pregnant.
I think I just had my second, and it was at Neha of Mother Untitled's event.
Yes.
And, she was the first person to be on this podcast.
Oh, get out of here.
Yeah.
I love her too. I actually just saw her last week.
Yeah, she's very special. Her career has really blossomed as well.
Yep.
And I was hoping you would introduce yourself. We were just talking. I'm like, you're not a mommy blogger. You're a writer. You're a blogger. We don't call it influencer anymore. And I was sort of like sussing that out. And maybe we could just have that conversation on camera. Like, what? You're a content creator.
Yep.
What does that entail? And who are you now?
So
today?
I feel like I don't remember when that shift was between mommy blogger, content creator. I don't really know. But I think actually it's when we started making more videos, right? When we kind of shifted. Yeah. It's no longer the beautiful photos, although I'm kind of partial to that.
I noticed your carousels, they're still present.
I'm starting to make more of them because while I do love a reel, I do love a beautiful photo too. And so I think the content creation turned when we started making more video content, because I'm not only producing content for my channel, I'm producing it for other companies and brands. So they're taking my video that may not ever live on my channel and they're putting money behind it. They're putting it on their channel and they're promoting it. So I think that's when like the shift was.
Wow.
And I don't consider mommy blogger. I just feel like it's so much more than that. We're doing family travel. We're doing fashion. We're doing all of that stuff.
I know. Stroller in the City. I guess that's why I thought maybe it was around motherhood. But how did you get started in this field, which it was getting started right when you sort of gave birth? Your son is mom. Is 15. So that's when you pivoted, right?
14 years ago. He was a year old when I did it. So I had a fashion showroom in New York and LA and Atlanta, which is kind of crazy. I represented 10 different designers, and it was a lot of travel, a lot of, 10 different designers meant 10 different bosses. And so every day I had to have a call with those 10 designers. And while I was pregnant with my son, I kind of freaked out a little bit. I was like, I don't know how I'm going to travel. I don't know what I'm going to do. So the girl who worked for me, I sold it to her. And she still has it till this day. It's
called what's her name?
Her name is Jessica Bay. Seamless Showroom. It's still around. Different designers now, but she carried it on, which was so nice to still have that, to say, this is something that I started. Yeah, it lived on. And so I was like, I'm going to become a stay-at-home mom.
Wow.
This is what I'm going to do. And for a year I was. And then I guess I was like craving some kind of like creative outlet. And I was like, I'm going to start this blog for family and friends. There were no cute boy clothes back then. So think 15 years ago, it was baby blue Carters.
No, this is a real thing. It's still sort of a real thing.
It's gotten way better.
Yeah.
Way better. I mean, it wasn't even.
I believe you.
I don't even think H&M Kids was around really 15 years ago.
Wow.
Like it wasn't cool stuff. So I was on a mission to find like cool boy clothes back then. And I just started like a style blog. It was like 2 to 3 sentences, stock image. And that was Stroller in the City. Wow. And I got that off of Sex in the City. That's where Stroller in the City came from, because I was obsessed with that show too.
Yeah.
And that's how it started. And then as the years went on, I was invited to, I think it was like 3 years later, I was invited to my first blogging event. And I had no idea what I was doing. I had no idea that you can make money off this. I had nothing. And as a matter of fact, it was a speaker was speaking, and I'm in a room filled with women, and they're all on their phones. And I was like, oh my God, these women are being so rude. Like, why are they on their phones? And they're like, they're tweeting. And I'm like, that's what they're doing right now? Like, this is what I'm supposed to do? I'm supposed to be tweeting out these things during the event? I had no idea. No idea.
Meanwhile, now Twitter is like, people won't even, they call it X.
Yes, X.
Yeah.
Yes. Won't even go near it now.
Yeah,
but
seriously.
that was the first social media platform that I had.
Twitter.
Yeah, Instagram wasn't even around then. So it was Facebook and Twitter. That's all we had.
And
Not
you had
even
your blog.
Pinterest. And the blog. Yep. And yeah, and then as the years went on, I met brands and they're like, can we send you this stroller? Will you do a review? And that's how it started. It was just like I was doing reviews, and then it was like, hey, we're going to pay you to do this. And I was like, okay. And then it kind of branched into family travel. And then it branched into like all these other things. And now, like, my kids are older. I know I still have the word stroller.
I
Kind of like
know.
thinking about maybe like changing that a little bit. I'm not really sure.
I mean, even just your name is so iconic at this point. Like, even in the introduction, like, I'm sure that the people who are tuning into this podcast, they know you. Like,
I think they know Stroller in the City. I
No
don't know if people know.
way.
Like, I'll get like, oh, you're Stroller. That's what I get. I'm like,
Wow.
yeah, I guess so. I'm Stroller.
and what's sweet is that, like, your kids are in their teens, but you're still really close. Like, I see less of your son. He's 15. I see less of your son in your stuff, but which makes absolute sense. And I'm sure you're being respectful of his time and his
Well, he has a
personage.
job this summer.
Oh, wow. But also,
Which
like,
is so funny. But
but
yeah.
you know, like, you're still like a family person.
Yes. Such a family person.
You're such a family person, and your relationships with your children seem to be really strong. Do they want to be part of the content?
They do. They kind of have a say now, and I let them have a say. And they have like a creative direction too now, and I appreciate that. And I'm like, great, we're going to lean into this, and we're going to do this. Like, the girls are very into skincare right now.
Wow.
Yeah, so they're all into, all about that, all into that. And who doesn't love to travel? I mean, all three of them, I could honestly say that we love going away on vacation, and like the opportunities that they get, they understand it's because of mom's job. And
That's so cool.
sometimes we have to pause and take a picture, and that's okay,
Yeah. Do they get like recognized and stuff?
Sometimes out here they do. Sometimes it's funny.
Is it fun? Do they
Yeah.
like it, or is it
They,
weird?
no, I think they think it's cool. I mean, I don't think it's like over the top, like we're not getting stopped,
Yeah.
like
Also,
all the
like in
time.
the Hamptons, it's like there are a lot of famous people.
But they're just like, oh, you're, Brianne's son or something like that. They'll say here and
Yeah.
there. Yeah.
How do you keep that like connection going with teens? Like, it's different, I'm sure, than how old
yeah.
is your youngest?
10.
Okay, so she's still a little girl.
Yes.
So she's still like mommy.
For sure. For sure. Definitely. But she's also, because she's the third, she's kind of matured so much faster than the other two.
Yeah.
So I feel like my 12-year-old and my 10-year-old daughters, they could be twins, because they're very much on the same thing for everything,
And they're friends.
Yes.
How did you foster that?
I have no idea. I come from 3 as well.
Yeah.
My sister and I are very close. My brother and I are 6 years apart. And I feel like we're close too. So I think they see that.
Yeah.
But I think it just happens, I mean, my son is not always very nice to my daughters. I mean,
still a kid.
it just happens. But they just have that, I don't know, sisterhood. I mean, they fight too. They're not, angels either.
Yeah.
But I think at the end of the day, they know that one another are there for each other.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much it.
When I had my son, I remember seeing a friend of mine who had her son about 6 weeks prior, and she was like, I really understand why people take, and we called it blogging at the time, take up to like blogging, because you can be home with your kid
Yes.
and still make money.
Oh, yeah.
And I had never thought of it. So that's when I started like dabbling. I would write about my son. I would like, and it really is an amazing thing, because I get to be with my kid
Yes.
and still be working.
That was the thing I loved about it too. And, it was when they were napping is when I was writing.
Yeah.
And then when they no longer napped anymore, then it was like, they had an 8 p.m. bedtime.
Yeah.
And that was fine. I would write at night. And then I think that's when it kind of shifted into like, wow, this is really the career, a full-time job, is when I needed childcare to do the blog too. I wasn't
Yes.
able to
Yes.
manage both.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. It's amazing how it grew for you. Because you grew with the industry itself.
I think so. I think it just happened very organically. And I think even till this day, I never took it seriously.
Oh, wow. You don't take it seriously.
I mean,
When I look at your
have
blog,
to.
I'm like, this is serious.
I have
Like,
to. But at the end of the day, I'm like, I always look at it like I always wanted to be a stay-at-home mom. Like, how did I get into this full-time job that I'm working harder now than I did when I owned this showroom?
Oh, you are.
Oh, yeah, without a doubt. I'm working way more hours. I'm working so much harder. I never take a vacation, you know,
Wow.
ever,
Right,
ever.
because when you're on vacation, that's actually work.
Yeah. Yeah. But even when I'm not on a paid job, like I'm still answering emails. Like the emails are still coming through. Like, yes, I have assistants, but like nobody answers my emails. I do it all.
And on your Instagram also, like,
I do it all.
wow.
Yeah. I don't let anyone touch my Instagram. I feel like that's like a baby, you know?
So when people are like, when you guys are reaching out to her, by the way, that's
It's
really
me writing
Brianne.
you back. Yes, it is. It is me writing you back.
And do you have a lot of people like reaching out and like creating relationships with you?
We do.
based on-
I do. Like very rarely now have I had to reach out to a brand to say like, hey, unless it's something I'm super passionate about. I'm like, hey, I want to do this, you know,
Yeah.
I'll reach out to them. But a lot of times it is people reaching out to me and I always make sure to answer everybody back. Even if it doesn't fit, I'll always say like, oh, we'll keep it in mind for future posts. Like I always have that, you know, I do have like that crazy type A, like time management kind of I want to answer everybody back. And I, you know, because I would want to reply as well, you know?
Wait, it looks like you had a question.
I want to hear about the family travel. I'm dying. I'm dying. It seems like it would be exhausting, but I see so many people on the internet doing it really, really well. So
I don't
fun.
travel with my kids really because I'm just like, this would be too much work. So if you could give us some tips, actually, that would be great.
Yes. Oh my gosh. So I don't even remember when it started, but I know I wanted to tap into the family travel part. So I think it was like weekend trips. I think it was staycations that we did in New York City, and that's how it started. And I would make sure to take really beautiful photos and write a really amazing blog. Obviously, you know, all truthful stuff. If something, we did go on one trip, which I didn't write about because I had to write to the PR people, like, I can't do this. You know,
I appreciate that so much because there's like a big part of me that's like, can I trust what this person is reporting because they're getting paid for it or this and that? Mm-hmm. And it's nice to know like, yeah.
Yes. And I didn't bash the hotel. So I didn't bash the hotel. I didn't write about the hotel. I just didn't speak about it.
Okay.
So that was, you know, that's how I handled it. Others would maybe handle it differently. I don't know. But yeah, so I would say I got my kids on a plane as early as possible. And I will say when they're infants, it's a lot easier to travel when they're like babies. Yes, you have way more baggage, but it's really easy, especially if you have like, you know, a baby on your lap, like you're nursing cheaper. Maybe, like it's just easy that was easy for me. And then, you know, as they're getting older, they were easy to be on a plane because they were so used to it. It was something that we did all the time. And with the family travel, it was just fun. Like we were in our own environment and I was just taking pictures of what we were doing. Like nothing was forced with like the family travel thing too. And even now, like I'll say to the kids, like, where do you want to go? Like, what should we do next? And like, they all have like their own opinions, you know, like my daughter's dying to go to Japan. Why? Because she sees the cool vending machines that she's like dying to try out, which is really funny. So I mean, I don't know when Japan will happen because that's a far trip, but I do make sure that they're involved in the itinerary and all the things. And I'm like, so what do you want to do for that? And, you know, what do you want to do for that? And like, yes, the whole like walking educational stuff, they're not like 100% into, but I do think that it is important for them to see obviously the city. Like we're heading to Barcelona and there are some educational things in there, you know, not all of it, but you know, I did say like, we have to see this monument, you know, like it's very important that we see this, but then at the end of the day, we'll do like a paella making class is what we, you know, booked and stuff like that.
That's so cool. And I do feel like, you know, I keep thinking, how do you like stay close to your kids in teenagehood? And I think like those core memories that you're creating.
I think traveling is huge.
You do.
And another thing, another mom said to me, we got into skiing and snowboarding. My son and my husband snowboard. My husband was always a snowboarder. I skied, but I wasn't like a good skier at all. And a friend said to me, if you ever want to like have this like really good bond with your kids, do the skiing thing. because you're on those, you're on like a chairlift with your kids, and that creates crazy conversation.
Wow.
And so I always made sure I made myself better. I took lessons. Now my kids, I mean, they blow me out of the water with that, but that is another thing that you can do as a family, even when you get older. It's something that the kids will look forward to too.
Did you know that your first memories like really fuse in your brain when adrenaline is attached to them?
I didn't know that.
So like hopefully it's not like when your mom's yelling at you, but like if you're on a ski lift,
There you go.
you know, or
Yeah.
like a roller coaster.
Yes.
Wouldn't that be nicer?
I love
Like when
that.
when you're out of your comfort zone and your heart is racing and like everything feels a little out of control, that's when the brain is like, you gotta remember this
Yes.
for next time. So anyway, I just think it's such a great idea.
That's interesting.
So use that
Yeah,
biology
I will.
for your advantage. And you have, clearly.
Clearly, yeah.
I love that. But do you ever feel like, you know, in your line of business, like this pressure to be like perfect or picture perfect or anything like that in order to like sort of cater to the brands or to your audience? Or is that something that you don't even consider?
I don't. I mean, I'm not really. I do love fashion, and I get my hair blown out once a week. I mean, I do that for myself, but I'm not like, if my hair is greasy one day, it's okay. Like, I'm not. And honestly, if sometimes I don't feel like sharing or I'm just tired, I won't post on stories that day, and that's
Yeah.
okay. I don't want that pressure of like being perfect on social media, especially my daughters are watching too. So
Yeah.
all of that stuff rubs off. Like, I'll never stress about stuff like that ever.
How did you figure out not to, is it because you just feel confident in your sort of, in your work or in yourself? How did you know, like, you don't have to do it? Or was there a learning moment?
I don't know. I mean, you read a ton of articles like online about like, young girls and the impression and getting all the likes and the views and, all the stuff on TikTok. Like, I don't want that to be us ever. So I never want, my daughters to see that, to see me stressing like, oh my God, I didn't get all these views on my YouTube. Like, I never want them to see that ever.
That's so
I mean,
cool.
they do see me stress about work and making deadlines and doing stuff like that, but I don't try to stress about that. And at the end of the day, I have to remind myself, like, I'm not saving lives here. I'm sharing my life. I'm not saving life. You know what I mean? It's not,
Yeah.
you can't get so caught up in it.
It's funny because, like, I do feel like you have, like, a really sort of service-filled job in that, when I just became a mom, I looked to bloggers, to Instagrammers, to people who had the, wherewithal and the skill to share their lives as, mothers and lifestyle bloggers, in a way that, like, would make my life better.
Right.
So there is a sort of leadership quality to your job. Do you think?
I think so. I think you're right. Yes.
Like, moms look up to you.
I think so. I think I get a lot of yeah, I do. I get a ton of questions daily. A lot of times even like stroller recommendations, and I'm still like obsessed.
Stroller.
It's so funny because I'm obsessed with strollers still. And
No.
I always have people around me, I feel like, that have babies. So I'm like, hey, do you want a stroller? Like, so we can review it. And I'm still obsessed with strollers.
Okay, so what's your favorite stroller?
I love an Uppa baby.
Really? Like
Yeah.
the one up and the one down?
Yes, if you have two kids, yeah.
You don't like the side to side?
No, especially, New York City, it's like too wide.
Yes, this is true.
I like an up and down situation.
My kids have a side to side because we were in COVID in the Hamptons.
Oh, yeah. So then you needed that.
We needed it.
Well, especially if you're pulling it in and out of a trunk of a car, it's okay.
But it's very hard to get through doors. And my
Yes.
6-year-olds, by the way, we have like a very far walk to school. And sometimes I'm like, I can't handle this scooter. I just can't. I can't do it.
It's a lot because
I'll
if they're
put him
going
in the
one
stroller
direction.
still.
Yes, I don't blame you.
I mean,
You know what's actually coming out? It was my number one stroller, and then it kind of went away. Now it's back. I just saw it in a store, and I kind of like was obsessed with it. Is the Orbit baby?
what's this?
Okay, so
Tell
it's
us.
a car seat that goes from the car seat to
Oh.
right directly to the car, which is great. Loved it. And then they have two side kickboards, so you're not like tripping into like the kickboard that's like
hate
in
that.
front of you. It's side ones, and it was like the coolest stroller. I used to have like all three kids like hanging off this stroller, and it was just so cool looking. And then they went away, but now they're back, and I just saw them in Albie Baby.
The thing is, actually, you found like a corner of the world that's like so clutch that that only mothers of young children would
They understand that.
because like once you get your stroller, This is your life.
Yes,
This
it's your
is
car.
Wait, that's your car. But
Yes.
like somehow you could switch out your strollers because of your job. Is this?
I was
like,
able to.
Oh
Yeah,
my
there was.
God!
I mean, there was one time at one point, I think I had like 5 or 6 strollers in
No!
our apartment. Yes, in our apartment in New York City.
No!
My husband was about to die. He was like, "We have to get rid of this." I'm like, "But I'm doing the reviews on all the strollers." Like, I was kind of obsessed, and I'm like, "You kind of really need 3 strollers."
I mean, what? I mean,
As
okay,
a
yes, you
parent.
do. I have the. I mean, we have 2, but with what space am I parking these things?
I know. Well, they have to fold well. They have
do-
to fold well.
You
And
really know a stroller.
I use the trunk of my car as storage, you guys.
Ah.
Even still to this day. Not for a stroller, but for other things.
Oh.
I just put it in the trunk of the car. In the city, if I can't fit in my apartment right now, it goes in my trunk.
I really appreciate that. Wait, give us more heads up. What are things that we don't know that we should know?
I
as
mean, I
mothers?
store like my luggage in the trunk of my
Oh,
car.
that's very smart.
Yeah,
Right, because that's where it's going to go anyway.
exactly.
Wow.
If we're like in between things, I can't have 5 luggages in my New York City apartment at all. So it goes in the trunk of the car.
How do you think that your life as like a businesswoman before having 3 kids affected like the way you run a household?
I think I still run it like
You do?
I'm very like type A crazy. Like
Yeah.
like I need everything in its order. I need like to plan out my day like all the time. Like I kind of feel like that's why my blog is where it is to this day, is because I always have a business entrepreneurial like mindset. I think I always had that.
Yeah.
So I think I just took it with me.
And also, I think that there's like a sense that I have from you that I'm not sure that everyone else sort of, knows, is that like being a mother actually does require that level of execution,
Yes.
organization, like forethought. It does require you to get up and get dressed. Like even if the cameras are not on, actually, even if
Oh,
you weren't a
absolutely.
content creator, that you would have to have found that paella class in Barcelona.
Yep. Oh yeah.
And I'm not sure that we ever were given that memo. That
We were never given that. No, our husbands definitely were never given that memo. I don't think they know that till this day.
that you have to work
It's just
to
like
be a mom.
yeah, I don't think they understand that. Like even my morning today was just like I got up. My son he had work at 8:30 a.m. So like
Proud of him, 15 years old, having work at 8:30 a.m.
I know, for the full day today, which was great. But that's getting him up at 7 a.m. to get him there. It was a whole thing. My daughters had a sleepover, so it was dropping my son off, picking the girls up on the way home, and like the way the day was, the way. So
It sounds like a nothing to do.
it
but it's
sounds like
actually-
nothing to do. But I sent my husband, please drive him, pick up the girls on the way home. I see him pulling to the driveway as I'm getting in the shower, because I'm on my way here, and there's no girls in the car. Okay, so I call from the bathroom from the second floor, like, hey, where are the girls? He's like, oh, that's right, I have to pick them up. I'm like, okay. And then that turned into 40 minutes. I'm like, no, but I need, it was just like a whole thing. Like they don't get the execution, whereas I do. And I'm like, very like, we got to get this all done.
Yeah,
It's kind of like the invisible labor of women, period, mom or not.
Yes.
Men do not understand. The
Yeah.
amount of time it even takes us to get ready, factor that in
Yeah.
Right.
alone. Like, if you're having people over, the amount of planning that
Yes.
you then have to do. And it's like, oh, well, this so seamlessly came together. Like,
know.
no, not so seamlessly.
You have right, exactly. It's so true. It's so true. I think just as women that we think of every detail, everything. And there are some men that are like that, and kudos to them, But I just think that we take it on more seriously.
I couldn't agree more for most people, and I have to say that I live sort of on the outside of this experience because I am not a detail-oriented person. I have total time blindness. Like, it's why, like, the motherhood, womanhood, like, it really does come with so many social constructs that like we as women take on, but also men assume of us. Where like I live totally outside any of those skills. Like I can get on mic and like really have meaningful conversation. This is what I can do.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I can really walk my child through an emotional moment. But I think like it really is interesting, like what we all assume being a woman is like we get dressed, we understand everyone else's needs all the time.
Yeah.
But I digress because I'm in awe of both of you. Laura is an incredible like hostess, by the way.
We're tired. That's the takeaway here. We're tired.
You're tired.
Tired.
I get that.
You know?
I get that.
It's like
Hosting is tough.
But just in general, just being women out here, like existing, doing it all, if you will, as you are really both doing it all, kids included. It's just there's not enough time.
There's not enough time.
We're time poor. That's what we all are. Time
I
poor.
agree. I agree with you.
But you seem to be figuring it out, actually.
I seem to be, but I think, inside, internally, I'm like stressing. Like I walked in here, I'm like, oh my God, I'm so late. Like I hate being late. It makes me crazy. Yeah. And I was like, oh my God, why am I late? I freaked out. But
I think that's like the cost of living. It's like being a little bit imperfect. It's like being late sometimes, or singing off key if you're me. Like it's like sometimes like we just have to be human.
Yes, absolutely.
We have to give ourselves the grace that like
we do. And I think that's what I need to give myself more of, like, is the grace. You know what I mean? Because I feel like I put so much pressure on myself, like, oh, I didn't get that done, and things like that.
You're doing so good.
So are you. And
Thank
so
you
are you.
so much.
We all are.
If you had any tips for people who are getting into being a mother, like you're like a literal professional mom, like, but also like lifestyle, travel. You're living your. I think you're living your.
I'm
like
trying
soul's
every
calling,
day,
right?
Yes, living your best life. Like I always try to say,
are.
like live each day to the fullest is how I try to look at it, and always wake up with like a ton of gratitude.
Do
always.
you?
Yes, always. Like very much like appreciate everything.
So what would you say to the mom who's like, in the trenches with baby diapers and, wanting to travel one day and figure it all out, like, or really your former self,
I mean, I would tell them, take the trip. Seriously, take the trip, book the trip, just go. I mean, I know a lot of moms that are like, I can't, my baby's going to cry on the plane. It's okay if your baby cries on the plane. Like, I think my daughter screamed one plane ride the entire way home from Turks and Caicos, and she stopped the minute the plane landed, and I just walked off as if that wasn't my kid. I don't know who it was, but yeah, it was like obviously definitely stressful, but just take the trip, do the things. And, I know this is so cliche, but it does go by so fast. Like the fact that I celebrated my son's 15th birthday this weekend is kind of insane.
Yeah.
It does go by so fast. And I know that it feels like you're in the trenches and stuff like that, but it's just really important to take a step back and to just remember that these are the moments that you're going to miss. And when they are preteens and teens, I don't want to tell you guys this, but it is a little bit harder.
Oh, how's that possible?
I'm sorry. You just have to be there more mentally. Like, it's not about scheduling your kids anymore and about what they're going to eat and when they're going to sleep. It's about being there for them and making sure that they're on this right path, like making sure they're not on their screen time so much, like the friends and, the drama. I mean, luckily we're not really in that, but like you want to keep them busy all the time with like activities so they're not like sitting there surfing the internet all day long. And
yeah, it's a really dark place.
Yeah, like you kind of want to, like, it's a whole different parenting game where it's like, I need to be there physically. Like there's no babysitter that can do that for me now. Like you need to kind of be there.
It's so funny because I always think to myself, like, as an actress, I feel like I sort of slowed down to be with my babies. Mm-hmm. And that was the right choice for me. And that has proven to be like fulfilling and something that I needed to do. But I always think, when they're teenagers, like that's when that's my big break. That's going to be like my Broadway debut. That's it for me.
Everyone says that.
No!
Everyone says that. I mean, listen, is travel going to be easier? Absolutely. Are you going to probably sleep better? Yes, for sure. Are they more self-sufficient? Yes. But it's just being there more, physically for them and like, wanting, they need to be able to like open up to you and like talk to you, and you kind of have to be like a little bit more helicopter at that age, I feel like, in my personal opinion.
I have a question. How do you make them, I mean, I know how do you get them to trust you? Like, so that they, because ultimately you're their mom, right?
Yes.
And they know that there's a certain, you want what's best for them. You want them to be safe. You want them to be secure and smart about what they're doing. So it's just so interesting to me, and I give it up to every mom. My mom did it very, very well, I have to say.
No way, really?
Great. She
I'm
was
so glad to
great.
hear it.
It was just her disposition, though, was very, like, she was 41 when she had me. So, like, she lived through the 60s and 70s. She was like, what? What are you going to say, kid? But, like, how do you do it now? Especially, like, they're seeing things on social media before they're even coming to you with it. So they, like, have a sort of understanding, or they think they do. I don't know. It just seems so complicated. How do you get them to trust you, I guess?
It's constantly talking to them. Like, seriously, even in the car, like, I'll just turn off the radio and just constantly, like, reiterate to them, like, all the things that you're stressing about as a parent, and I'm always saying to them, like, always feel like you can come to us. You won't get in trouble. Like, call me if you ever feel unsafe. Like, just say the word. Like, I'll never embarrass you. I won't punish you. Like, you need to be honest with us. And, like, we're constantly doing that. And, like, I think that has helped us with our kids. Like, like, tell me the truth. Is it? And, like, I'll keep saying it over and over again. And, like, till finally, like, with my son, if whatever it was, he'll finally say, okay, this happened, and, like, we'll get the truth out. But, like, constantly, and I feel like that's what my parents did to me. Like, my mom always said, like, just call me one day. Like, if you ever feel like you're in a bad situation, use this word. I will pick you up. I will not ask any questions. You will never get in trouble. But, like, if you, God forbid, like, someone wants to drive while drunk in the car, I will never. And I think it happened once. My mother came, she picked me up, never questioned me anything, took me home, and we never spoke about it again.
Wow.
And that's what I tell my kids. Like, I want you guys to do this with me. I will never ask questions. Like, if, but you need to come to me.
I appreciate that so much.
Yeah.
It really makes me think, like, sometimes when I look at, content creators in the lifestyle space and, in the mom space, I'm like, are they phoning it in? And I'm looking at you and I'm like, you are so not. You really freaking care.
Of course. Oh my God. Yes.
It's nice to know, actually, because, like, I have a feeling like the person in Minnesota who's, like, following, I don't know, maybe following me. I don't know. Like, they probably think, like, I don't know, she has this and she has that and she doesn't really care. And it's nice to know that you do. Like, you devoted your
Absolutely.
whole career, actually, to living a good life and to sharing that with other people.
Yes, I do think I should probably share a little bit more, like, behind the scenes stuff, because I do feel
Well,
like
here we are.
that this is what we're doing. Yes, I feel like I need to share more of that too, even on my stories. I feel like, because some people are like, oh my God, you're, at these parties and you're this and you're traveling and whatever. I'm like, but I'm also in the thick of it with my kids too, which I don't show all the time. I also have to respect the kids too. So that's like,
Tell me more. Like, do you feel like you have to respect them more because of their age now, or is there, like, more? I know that there's a lot of press around being mindful of their consent, and even in
Absolutely.
Illinois, there are laws being passed around paying children for their participation in these sort of projects. But that's new. That's like, you've been doing this for 14 years.
Yeah. I mean, my kids are on my payroll. I will tell you that. Yes.
Wow.
They are, just for even just saving purposes for college and all that stuff. So that was something that an accountant told me, that
Good on
you can
you.
put the kids on the payroll. So they do know that, too. And it's just saving for their college.
Wow. Before the laws passed.
Yeah. But, like, there's
she's
just,
an
like,
early adopter.
but just certain things too, like, I'm not going to show, like, my daughter's, like, room is, like, super messy. And I'm like,
That's
you
right.
got to clean your room today. You got to clean your room. Like, I do, like, some of their friends follow me and whatever. I don't want to embarrass them. So it's one, embarrassing them. It's also, like, protecting their mental health, all the things, you know what I mean? So there is a fine line a little bit about what you can share versus what you can't. But I mean,
really
if there was
appreciate
something super serious, I would feel the need to be like, hey, this is what happened in my life, and I'm going to share it.
Yeah. I think also there's probably you're established. Like, you don't have to get on stories and say anything. We trust you because we know your taste. We trust you because, you've been doing this every day for the past 14 years. I think there's, like, a sense that, like, a lot of other content creators sort of have to, like, report the news constantly.
Right.
And, like, pull back the the lid on, the backstage pass or whatever. But I don't know. There's a part of me that thinks like, well, you're like a sort of established, person. I don't know that you need to, but it's kind of nice. Like it's nice that you and I get to chat.
I love that you look at me like that because I don't look at myself like that. I feel like I'm like there's so many content creators out there. You know what I mean? I'm like I feel like it's a very saturated market, and I feel like
And you've been able to like rise to the top. That's how I see it.
Thank you. Thank you for saying that.
Like rise to the top and still like keep your ideals close.
Yeah.
Like your family close.
Yeah. And adopt like 7,000 new platforms in the last,
that is true.
however many years. So
That is
hats
true.
off to you for like, like you can say you don't have to do stories but she does. And she has to figure it out, which is like, it must be exhausting.
It is exhausting. I feel like I have to, my new routine out here, and I hope I can carry this into, when I go back to New York City, I've been getting up super early every day, 6 a.m., and I like bang out all my work, all my emails, all the things like that I have to do for the day, like kind of create a list. I've been getting in exercise classes, which I don't do in New York. I don't know why. I have this routine out here.
Well, the thing is, it's a lot of stress in New York. It's like Laura and I were just talking about it, like just existing in New York City, we're just like emitting all of our energy just to like be alive.
It's true. Like there's no school schedules right now that I'm dealing with, which I will obviously in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah.
But it's a lot of planning, and it's a lot of like, you kind of can't take a day off. Like I know I hate saying that. And I do try to like disconnect on the weekends, and I really try to do that and live in the moment. That's the other thing too. I learned I like to live in the moment, and that's why sometimes I don't post on stories, because I am living in the moment, and I think that's okay too. I think you have to. I've seen creators who literally video everything, and I'm kind of like, how are you even like I know what you're doing because I do it sometimes too, but like you got to put it down sometimes.
Yeah, but I think sometimes not everyone has like the facility to just like know how to connect to their audience. Like sometimes that backstage pass is all they have, in terms of a means of connection.
Right. It's true.
I think I was asking you because I know your husband's in commercials, right? I was saying like, well, you guys probably speak the same language.
I was like, no, we don't at all. At all.
Because it's a different medium, really.
It really is. I'll ask him to film something. He's like, you're backlit. I'm like, that's the look I'm going for.
But like you do, some people like if you don't have, I know that you have now a whole crew that works with you so that you can really deliver on these.
I have to. Well, I have like a video guy who I don't get all the time because has too many jobs going on, but I do. He's actually on the jitney right now coming out so we can film all day and get our work done. I do have a photographer, but there are jobs that I have to do myself. Like I have to video stuff and I have to take photos myself. So it's a little bit of a mix of both. I mean, I rather have the people to do it for me so I can think about the creative and not the other stuff. But, sometimes I have to do it both.
Yeah. I think that helps with like the visual storytelling, but it also helps like you stay like good at what you do is when you're like outsourcing, right?
Yes, because then I can create and then I could think and I'm not worrying about lighting.
What's your favorite part about your job?
I love telling a story, and I honestly really do love photography, and I love just like capturing like fun moments of my children, and traveling definitely like hands down is, seeing the world with them and then hearing them tell you that story, like when we were in Morocco and this happened. And it's really like I sit there and I'm like, oh my God, this is why I do what I do. Like I just love hearing them tell because I didn't do that as a kid. So I think I'm like living vicariously through them too.
That's so cool. Oh my gosh. Can I be a travel blogger?
Yes, do it. I think I always say to people, there's so much room for everyone. And if you want to do that, then you should.
Guys, let's do it. Let's all go.
Book a trip.
Let's go to Morocco.
Do it.
Morocco?
Yes.
Was it amazing?
Yes.
Wow.
It was amazing.
It's so cool. Well, okay. Tell me, with our last few minutes remaining, did we miss anything? Is there something about, you, I mean, after all these years, that like your favorite follower is going to tune in and be like, I didn't know that.
I don't know. I feel like, what else did they not know? Wow, I don't know.
I know, because you think the thing is, like, as much as you're not showing up on stories every day, like but you're showing up, like you're giving us a huge lens into your life.
You're right. I feel like, what do they not know? I mean, maybe they don't know that I really am almost like a one person, job. I don't know. Like I'm a one person thing. I feel like a lot of people look and they think that, oh my God, you must have an assistant with you all day and every day. No, like I haven't had an assistant the entire summer. Like I have one. She's back in New York, but she does like, she doesn't come out here to like help. I have a housekeeper. I mean, that's it. Like I don't have a nanny. I don't have any of that stuff. So I feel like maybe people look at that and they think that. I am a hustler. Maybe they don't know that I am literally a workaholic and I'm always working and I'm always thinking and I'm emailing myself like, oh, I should do this, I should do that, or that kind of stuff. I feel like people don't know about me.
What's the passion behind your work? Like, what's the thing that you wanted? What drives you?
Anyone else emails themselves. I've never heard anyone else admit it
that?
all the time.
All the time. All the time.
In the subject
Yeah.
line.
Oh my God.
Emailing myself.
Wait, can I just say that Laura is like a real hustler. She's so ambitious. I love her so much.
I love you. And like you are literal joy. And like
Yes,
that
you
is
are.
like
You
your
are.
gift to this world is being literal joy
Oh my
in
gosh.
human form.
You
So
are.
Thank you.
so much. Thank you. But what is the ambition? What's behind it? What's the thing that like really drives you? That is it just being creative itself?
I think it's
just
being
expressing
creative.
yourself?
It's being with my family. It's giving them experiences that I didn't have. I think that's what it is. Like living this life that I kind of wanted to, you know what I mean? Like I grew up right outside the city. My parents both kind of worked in the city. My mom worked at a hotel and I would be like, can we just live here? I want to just live here. And like, obviously we couldn't live at the hotel. But I feel like living in New York City right now, like this is something that I wanted as a kid. You know what I mean? And I don't think my kids realize it yet because the grass is always greener, of course. But just kind of giving them the life that I always wanted. That's what, fuels me.
Oh my God, I'm so proud of you.
I'm so proud of you.
Thank you so
This is
much.
amazing. Look at this studio that
I know.
we're in right now.
I know.
Hello.
It's so cute.
It's
it really
amazing.
is. All thanks to our executive producer, Laura Lucetti, here
Yes.
with us today. Woo woo.
So happy to be here.
Thank you so much for taking the time.
Thank
Have an amazing
you.
shoot today and
Thank
an
you.
incredible time in Spain.
Thank you
I'm
so much.
so
I will come
proud.
back next time to tell you all my tips now.
Can't wait. I can't wait.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, as always, for listening to the Mom Curious podcast. My name is Daniela Rabbani. I am your host, and I would love to continue this conversation at Daniela Rabbani on Instagram. And if you'd be so kind to rate and review, share this podcast, I would be just really grateful. Catch you next time, every Tuesday on the Mom Curious podcast, produced by Hoff Studios. You can find them at Hoff Studios on Instagram as well. All right, have a great day.